So welcome back. In this lesson, I'm going to connect the different outlets that I made in my list view controller to an actual view controller. So I'm going to go up here. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to rename some of these files. So this is going to be list view controller. Copy the same. Rename the .m as well. Then I'm going to go to my list view controller, an actual .h file. And I'm going to change my interface name as well. And for the time being, I'm going to remove all the comments. So it becomes a little bit less, crowded in here. Save that file. I'm going to go to my .m file, remove all the comments. And I'm going to change the name of my implementation to list view controller. I'm going to import the list view controller.h and remove my interface altogether and remove my entire did receive memory warning. And I'm going to remove that. So at the moment, we got everything that we wanted to have a new list view controller .h and .m. You could do this practice simply by adding a new file. That's something I will do in my items view controller. But for now, I wanted to rename this and just give you a sense of if you wanted to rename a view controller, what things do you have to remember to rename. So I'm going to go back to my main storyboard. In here, I'm going to say my storyboard's class is actually called list view controller. So now they're all perfectly connected to one another, and it will reflect up here as well. If for some reason you don't have the this little browser of the elements, that's that little icon down here that if you press it, it will hide it, and otherwise you can basically show the explorer or the outliner of your items. So I'm going to go down to my basically my assistant editor or helper editor, and in here I'm going to start adding the different files and different classes. First thing, I'm going to switch this to .h, and in here I'm going to say I've got a table view called lists table view. That's one. And then I've got my offline or profile button. So I'm going to add that one as an outlet called profile button. That's perfect. Then the next thing I'm going to add is I'm going to add an action that is action. And my action is called new list action connect. And finally, I've got profile action. So that one is called profile action. And I do remember to make it of the type action, of course. So let's get rid of the assistant editor. In my storyboard, the last few things I have to do, I have to go up here and say my list table view, control and drag over my view controller, data source, and delegate. So the delegation and the data source for my lists table view is the same as list view controller. One of the things I want to mention in here is, and that's a bit of a, it's something that's both, kind of difficult and also is quite funny, and that is this whole application is a lists, it's got a lot of lists in it. It's basically a grocery lists view and the items of the lists. Just be careful that you don't get confused between these names. We could change these names, or if you want, you're welcome to do that to something else, but that's kind of the name that makes sense to me, because this is the table view for my different lists, the plural form, and this is the view controller for my lists. So make sure that those names, they don't confuse you. So that's about it for this lesson. We got all of our items, they're all properly connected. In the next lesson, we're going to move on with the data source for our table view.